Hi, today we're going to be doing an unboxing of wolves. And a couple of things I want to preface this with. So first of all, this is not the production copy, this is one of our prototypes. We're working on a number of changes with our manufacturer to sort of get the game where I would like it to be. But we're going to go over both the components here, how they are now, and how they're going to change by the time they reach your table. So first of all, I love this cover. This is an amazing cover and that won't be changing. Incredible art from Ovila Melot. And I love this art. So the first thing I want to call out is the box dimensions. The way the box is currently laid out, you can see the sort of thickness here. It will actually be thicker than this. It will be closer to about 3 inches thick, and I'll explain why once we get inside. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive in. I should also say that there is no shrink wrap on this box, and the box will instead be, the box lid will be secured with small adhesive tabs that are biodegradable. You may have seen this on a few other games. It's starting to become a little more common. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump in. I should also say that not only is the thickness going to change, but the box is going to be slightly larger, and I'll explain why about that in a second. So first we have our rule book. The rule book will be square and will take up the entirety of the larger box, which is great because that means we can also go to like a slightly larger print, have a little bit more room for things to spread out. But you can kind of get a brief glimpse here. And by the time you see this video, we may well have the new rule book online. So, but yeah, so you've got the rule book here. And then you have the main board, and the main board is going to be much larger than this. As you can see, it does not fill out this box. The new box size, which is larger, this board will actually be closer to the full box size. Other than that, the graphics won't be changing or anything like that, but it will be larger. Next we have the first set of, or the only set of punch-outs rather. This is the community needs tokens, the status awards tokens, and the status rank order tokens. The status rank order tokens are the only ones here that are really going to change. They're going to be much larger. There was a miscommunication there with the manufacturer, and these are actually supposed to be even larger than the status award tokens. The idea is that you want to be able to see these from across the table. So having them probably about the size of poker chips is what they'll end up being. But yeah. And then moving on to the next one. So then the boards. You have the player boards. And the player boards are going to go through a number of changes. While the player board size here is going to stay the same, what will change is the thickness of these boards. Currently they are a dual layer board. You can see there's kind of a difference in the thickness here. They're going to be increasing on both halves. Part of that is like an overall durability level. This level here is a little thin, which creates a little bit of wobble. And then there's also a situation where you probably can't see it here, but because of the thinness, when they're glued together, there's a slight, just almost imperceptible bend in the cardboard, and creates a slight curve. But what that does is create a situation where on a table, this board isn't quite as stable as I would like it to be, right? So it needs to be flat against the table. So that will change. The only other thing that's really changing is that through playtesting we discovered that having this information down here is going to change, because when you have your player deck here, it sort of covers it up. And originally this information was important for setup, but there's another change coming, that I'll get to in a minute, that sort of negates that. And instead, this information up here, which is sort of the asymmetric ability information, will be up here where both the player who's playing it and then other players can see that information more readily. But yeah, that's really the only changes from the player boards. So we'll go on to the other stuff. So here we have the components. This is, for example, the corn tokens. These bags will change. Right now they're in sort of like almost like a tissue wrap, and they're not good for reusability. This was sort of a test, and I don't really like it. So we're going to end up going with more of like a tiny little brown bag, and we'll see if how that goes in the next iteration. but folks may either want to just leave these loose in the box once they open it and start playing, or find alternative container solutions that they already have at home, whatever speaks to their needs. And then we have the cards. I'm going to touch on this insert last because this is my biggest issue. But the cards, I love the faces of the cards. The faces of the cards are fantastic, beautiful art. But we realized during playtesting that a large part of the time for setup on the game was building their player decks. And after a little brainstorming and a light bulb moment, we decided that rather than having the players build their decks each time, that we would just have individual decks set up for each player that matched their faction color, their community color and name, with this art and these colors as the backs of the cards. That way, in case you're going to play this faction, you just grab the deck of cards that matches that faction. You can grab the cards that all have this back. So there you go. So that makes that a little simpler. The rest of the cards, there's really not a whole lot of other changes as far as the cards go. But I do want to say that change on the backs of the cards does change the way this box will lay out. As I mentioned earlier, the box is going to be thicker. It's going to be 3 inches. The way that we're going to be changing that is that the factions of cards will now sit along the edges of the box vertically in slots, so that they are automatically separated from the get-go. And we'll have spots here along the edge, and then in the center of the box you'll have room for all of the player mats and your tokens underneath, and then the board will go on top to sort of keep everything in place. I really like box layouts that allow folks to put things away into the box, so that when the box is stored either flat like this or up on its side, that all the components don't fall out all over the place. So that's one of my goals there. So yeah, so that's a quick breakdown of that. Oh, I didn't really cover the knowledge cards. The knowledge cards are the asymmetric abilities that players can purchase during the course of the game. Those won't really be changing. There's a couple of small changes from some of the card text here that we've altered during playtesting, but really the art on these is fantastic, and you'll have 6 different abilities that you can purchase during the course of the game, and yeah. So that's our current unboxing. We're going to have more on the gameplay in a follow-up video. I just wanted to make this one sort of concise and to the point about components and unboxing and kind of the things that we're changing. Thanks.